The Junth Festival is over. It happened here in MLK Park, and while the parade was great and people had a good time, there were some major hiccups that happened later in the evening on Saturday and Sunday, and a council member says change must happen. A beautiful cultural event that thousands, including Maston District Councilwoman Zanetta Embahart, attended. But there were hiccups that have forced her to speak up.
There were several hiccups throughout the day. After the parade is over.
Late Saturday evening, while checking out vendors and getting food, this.
It just happened. It was a stampede of hundreds of young people running through the vendor tables. They were running all through the splash pad. They were everywhere. And I'm just like, what's happening? And then we see they were fighting, and someone said someone got maced, and you could see that clearly people had gotten maced.
She watched elderly people and parents with young children try to get away, including someone in a wheelchair. She wants this type of bad behavior to end. Her solution, after finding out the ages of those involved:
we're going to have a section just for our 11 to 17-year-olds. There's going to be everything there. Everything you can think of that a young person will want to participate. And we're going to take ideas.
More on this at 5:30. Meanwhile, a city spokesperson tells Two on Your Side Buffalo police did step in to assist and break up fights. The city says in most cases, the children will return to their parents. On Your Side in Buffalo, Claudine Ewing, Channel 2 News.
The chief operating officer of the Buffalo Diocese first starting our conversation with this, an apology on behalf of the Catholic Church to the victims. Richard Sukan says the settlement is a step towards providing some level of justice and restitution. Today, we covered several topics, including how parishes will have to contribute $110 million towards that $150 million settlement owed to more than 800 victims. The amounts vary widely among the 160 parishes based on each one's unrestricted financial reserves. The diocese tells us the financial information used to calculate each church's contribution was self-reported. Sukan says having each parish contribute is the only way to reach a settlement.
What steps are the churches, and the diocese taking to rebuild the trust that just seems so deeply broken with its members?
The Diocese of Buffalo has taken very seriously the protection of children and vulnerable adults. We have implemented some procedures, some safeguards, background checking relative to employees and volunteers. There are monthly bulletins and training that all employees, including clerics, are required to complete. We have our results associated with that process are subject to audit each year, and we have successfully passed all of those audits. The renewal initiative, as a separate point, is really focused on reinvigorating the Catholic faith, reinvigorating our faith communities, reinvigorating our experience of parish life.
The diocese also confirmed real estate sales could help cover the settlement if needed. The churches are expected to pay their portions by July 15th. We're told some parishes plan to appeal the amounts they are expected to pay. The diocese says it will meet its own contribution deadline by that date. The diocese is expected to submit its reorganization plan by September to a judge. On Your Side, Courtney Courtwright, Channel 2 News.
3 years after this devastating fire closed it down, the city claims the owner of the Buffalo Grand has done practically nothing toward making repairs to reopen. And they say the building, once a crown jewel of the Buffalo waterfront, has become an eyesore on this gateway to downtown.
You can see there's overgrown grass,
boarded up doors, graffiti, broken glass.
We have unhoused individuals that are also residing on the property.
According to the city, there are now 18 code violations here, and the owner owes $90,000 in back taxes and sewer bills.
We have no confidence that the individual can bring this hotel back.
So today, the city declared it abandoned, a first step in its intent to take title to the Buffalo Grand under a state law passed in 2022 regarding the ability to seize derelict commercial properties.
Next, we will be noticing the owner and everyone that has an interest in the property as we move forward to
bring this property either into compliance or bring it into the hands of a responsible owner.
In prior interviews, owner Harry Stinson of Hamilton, Ontario, has insisted he still intends to restore the hotel, but he did not return a call today seeking comment on the city's intent to take it from him. Although city officials indicated Stinson is not entirely out of chances, but the window for him is shutting and may close entirely in 30 days.
If he comes and rectifies the issue, starts dealing with the property, it's a win-win for everyone. He sells the property to someone responsible, it's a win-win. That's great, as long as something happens here, but we're willing to step in and make sure that it does happen.
Those allegations, you may recall, were made on the Unsubscribed podcast by Buffalo Police Detective Richard High.
The Buffalo school system has been intentionally not reporting the assaults of students,
as well as cover-ups of incidents at district schools. Immediately after the podcast was released on April 26th, Superintendent Dr. Tanja Williams-Knight called the allegations, quote, untruths. However, several days later, the district and Board of Education pledged to investigate the claims. Now, nearly 2 months later, the board approved a firm to investigate the matter. The resolution came during the final meeting of the Board of Education, where Dr. Williams-Knight will preside as superintendent. The evening started off with the auditorium of the Arthur O. Eve School auditorium being dedicated to the outgoing super. And after a spicy debate about a bond issue with the city controller and mayor's office,
I'd like the record to reflect again that during our ESSER, the city owed this school district over around $5 million from interest earned.
The board approved unanimously to appoint Rupp Falls Graph LLC as the investigator. But there was no further discussion, no commentary, no public debate about the serious allegations being made. The decision to select the firm was made in executive session and simply voted on during a public meeting. The investigation will minimally cost the district between $45,000 and $60,000. The board nor the superintendent answered any questions on the matter Wednesday night. But they put out a statement that read in part, the special independent investigator will have full authority to review all relevant information and conduct interviews as needed. As the safety and security of our students and staff remain a top priority, it's important to stress that the Buffalo Public Schools maintains a close and professional relationship with the Buffalo Police. Additionally, the board said they will release the findings of the investigation publicly.
Neighbors tell me it's hard to believe that it's been 1 year since a fire ripped through the old Pink and destroyed it. But they say they're still finding new ways to remember it 1 year later. You could see it along Allen Street today, people finding their own ways to honor a bar that really felt like home. From t-shirts to pink flamingo socks, the old Pink is far from forgotten. People told me it was a place where friendships were made and everyone felt welcome. So today we spoke with the person that started it all, Mark Supples, who opened the bar as the Pink Flamingo. And we also talked to Lane Walnicki, president of the Allentown Association, who says that the original spirit of the Pink still lives on.
When Allentown was cool, man. October 1st, 1983, we opened our doors. We're a hit from day one, and things were a lot different then. Really eclectic crowd. We had motorcycle gangs, we had punk rockers, we had lawyers and judges and drug dealers and cops, and a lot of neighborhood people.
Really, it's the spirit of the Pink. It lives on, and I've seen people, they obviously haven't been here since it happened, but they come even a year later. They're coming to the lot to just see it for their own eyes, because it's just so hard to believe.
Mark said he first opened the bar with $10,000 he received from his mother. He had no idea that it would turn into a Buffalo landmark so many years later. On your side in Allentown, Alyssa Clausow, Channel 2 News.
At Congregation Shir Shalom, Rabbi Alex Lazarus Klein says every new headline feels personal, especially for families with loved ones in the region.
We're pretty much on pins and needles. Unfortunately, this is nothing new when it comes to Israel and to the Middle East. You know, when it hit the hospital in Beersheba, that's where a lot of my family lives. So instantly, I'm reaching out to them.
For many in the Jewish community, the pain crosses oceans and generations.
Well, even though it's thousands of miles away, it feels like it's home.
He says this is not a war Israeli citizens wanted, but one they now feel pushed into.
It's been very difficult. Iran's been a very bad player in the region, And maybe at this point we have an opportunity to remove that thread, and hopefully it will lead towards actual peace. But all we want is peace.
But from Western New York's Muslim Fazan Haq's perspective, the situation is part of a much broader pattern of violence, and the consequences are far-reaching.
They think it's an extension of that war. It's an increase of war theater. So that is how it is perceived, and that's what actually in reality it is.
He says fear is growing among Iranians living abroad and beyond.
Personally, I know few people from Iran, and they're worried about their loved ones. There is a fear that this war will spill over into South Asia, which is nuclear South Asia, what I call nuclearly armed India and Pakistan.
He says the focus should shift from retaliation to resolution.
The United States of America has to put its foot down to either de-escalate or end this war ASAP.
And at the core of it all, both leaders say, it's humanity. On your side in Western New York, I'm Alexandra Rios-Malvia, Channel 2 News.
I think it's a very dangerous time for the Middle East, very dangerous time for our ally Israel.
Obviously, the scenes of destruction from Iranian ballistic missiles striking Tel Aviv neighborhoods reinforces that point, but Gillibrand emphasizes the danger to the U.S. and the world as well.
A war in the Middle East is very dangerous for the United States, particularly since Iran has been developing nuclear capabilities. We don't want to create a nuclear crisis in the Middle East. So I'm hopeful that we can have some de-escalating talks sooner than later.
While U.S. forces have defended against and struck directly at Iran's ally in Yemen, the Houthi rebels, and may now be actively assisting Israel, Gillibrand stresses it is only in a defensive mode for air defense, in recognition as well of previous Iranian statements.
Iran is the primary funder of terrorism in the Middle East, including Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. And we have given enormous resources to Israel to protect themselves. Most of their Iron Dome, David's Sling, David's Arrow, David's Beam are all weapon systems and defensive weapon systems developed by the United States in conjunction with Israel. So we will keep supporting them in their effort to defend themselves.
Over the weekend, there were reports President Trump had strongly advised the Israeli government from trying to kill Iran's government leaders, instead staying with military targets. The administration had also been engaged in prior negotiations between Iran and Israel. But from Gillibrand, this assessment.
I don't know that he's having any persuasiveness with either Iran or Israel at this point.
Yeah, well, Scott and Mary Alice, this is obviously very much still a developing situation. The Chautauqua County Sheriff did hold a press conference for us just within the last few hours here. And what we know so far is as follows. First, we know that the initial call was for a domestic incident. That went out around 3:34 this afternoon. We also know that sheriff deputies arrived at the home on Mina French Creek Road and found a middle-aged man there holding a shotgun and was pointing it at the deputies. We also know that the officers then tried to de-escalate the situation verbally, but that got to a point where gunfire was exchanged from the middle-aged man and the two deputies that were on the scene there. One deputy was injured in this as well. He suffered non-life-threatening injuries, mostly to the hands. He is at a hospital right now in the Erie, PA area. He's expected to be released tonight, though. As far as the middle-aged man, though, he did die in this exchange. He came to his injuries there at the scene. Now, the Chautauqua County Sheriff saying tonight that this is not something that happens often in this county. It's very rare to see a sheriff officer involved in a shooting like this, and that's something that everyone in the community right now is feeling.
I think it impacts the whole community. This is a tight-knit community out in this area of the county, and so nobody wants to see anybody's life taken. So the emotional effect on everybody involved takes a toll.
Yeah, now we still don't know who shot first in this exchange or the names of anyone involved, but we do know that the two officers were wearing body cams and that they were activated. The Sheriff's Office has not yet committed to releasing that footage yet. We also know that the Attorney General's Office is currently investigating. And Scott and Mary Alice, this is obviously still a developing situation, as we said. We will continue to keep you updated online and right here at Channel 2 News.
Within this Orchard Park gym lives the spirit of the Fighting Irish.
It was the coolest experience ever.
Delaney hard at work, training with her dad, gym owner Kevin Cunningham, and under another watchful eye, that of Kevin's mom, Lizzie Donahoe, an Irish immigrant, immortalized in this mural.
She was overlooking me while I was sparring, overlooking all the work that I put into this gym beforehand, and then it still felt like she was with me when I went to her homeland, to her country. So yeah, it was so cool.
Delaney was one of 6 local boxers who traveled to Belfast and Donegal last month to compete as part of the program Bridges Beyond Boxing, which uses the sport as a gateway to life-changing experiences for athletes from the United States and Ireland who learn about different cultures and acceptance. For Delaney, this trip was not only her first trip with the program, it was her first actual boxing match.
You're so focused on, like, is my form okay? Is everything pretty? Like, are the punches good? And then you get hit and you're like, it does not matter. You're just going in there fighting for your life, it feels.
And although she took a few good shots, she did pretty well, going 1-1 against her Irish combatants.
I was just so proud of her.
Proud of what she did and where she did it.
I told Delaney, I said, Delaney, we're not going to a different country to fight. We're going home.
Patty Gorman worked for years to bring the program to Buffalo. Last year, his work paid off as a group from Ireland got a taste of the United States and all that the Queen City had to offer. This year, it was the Buffalo Boxers' chance to cross the ocean.
It was the greatest thing. I thought last year was amazing. This year, just seeing their faces when we got off the plane, just seeing them when they met their families, seeing them when they walked into the gym, seeing how just appreciative they were. I was living through their joy every single second of the day.
It was wonderful. It was absolutely a beautiful experience because you have the stress of fighting and the stress of going on a trip, but both are kind of distractions for one another. So it was just super cool experience.
We have to prove that these two triangles are similar.
There's always that one teacher
Very inspirational.
who can make class feel special.
He made learning math and figuring out the problems fun.
Thank you so much for being a great class.
That's Joe Embahart. He's retiring after teaching for 30 years at Frontier Central High School.
Definitely will miss the interactions with the students. I'll definitely miss the interaction with my colleagues.
Those interactions might have never happened if he hadn't taken to the sky first.
I had a mathematics degree, and I found out my love for teaching by teaching people how to skydive. And I put the two together, and it was a perfect marriage for me.
His first jump was in 1988.
It really is a thrill.
Now, he has around 5,800 jumps under his belt.
Instant love. Instant love. I said, wow, that was a lot of fun. Why not me? Why can't I become a skydiver? And one thing led to another, and I became an instructor.
Leaving his mark even at school from above.
Got to take the principal in on a tandem skydive, landed him right on the 50 at the homecoming game.
From that field to a crowd of thousands at Highmark Stadium.
It's very exciting. The intensity level goes up because of the stage you're on.
While he's made countless jumps from the sky,
There's a handful of teachers that you're always going to remember, and I just think he's going to be one of them.
it's the impact on the ground that means the most.
Truly blessed to have been in this district. The one I went to school at and the one I get to graduate from again.
Curtis Samuel's first year with the Bills didn't go as he'd hoped.
Last year, I knew that I could do better. You know, I did feel like the times that I did have the ball in my hands, I did a pretty good job, but I always hold myself to high expectations, you know, and I feel like I can bring more to this offense.
Injuries a big factor in Samuel's lack of production. He says the turf toe suffered in training camp lingered nearly the entire season. Samuel also dealt with shoulder and rib injuries, all that forcing the wide receiver to sit just 3 games, but held him back from being his true self when on the field.
It's tough, you know, when you can't really get in a rhythm just because you just got an injury or just like you can't cut the way you want to. You gotta take some time off. So it's like rhythm is the most important, you know, when I'm out there in a rhythm, which I feel like I caught towards the end. It's just being in the rhythm and not thinking about injuries, because that's when I felt my best. And I feel like the results showed.
As Samuel said, we started seeing flashes those final few games of last season. The biggest benefit of being fully healthy now is how that allows the wideout to finally work at full speed with Josh Allen.
I just think, you know, first year being with somebody is kind of tough because you don't know ball placement or it's hard to gauge a guy's speed, or it's like I gotta be consistent enough and showing him that I can do this, I can do that, and show him consistently my speed, so that we could be able to get the time down pack. So I think it's just us both coming together and just, figuring it out. And I feel like we're doing a pretty good job. It just takes reps. That's just with anything.
Last season was the least productive Samuels had since his rookie year in 2017, with just 31 catches for 253 yards and a touchdown. Samuel out to prove that's not who he is.
I got the confidence. I'm not worried about that at all. It's just putting the confidence in everybody in the building. You know what I'm saying? Just being able for them to trust me when they put the ball in my hands, to know that I'm going to make a play, or put me in position to make a play, and understand that I could get the job done.
Now we wait and see if the Bills can get the guy they signed to a 3-year, $24 million deal a year ago.
What is the true version of Curtis Samuel?
Dancing, just having fun, just making plays week in and week out, which I feel like I'm going to do this year. I just got my mind made up that I can do better and I can be better. And then, like I said, I hold myself to high expectations, which I know I'll meet this year.
A healthy and hungry Curtis Samuel. With the Bills, John Scott, Channel 2 Sports.
Lauren, there were indeed a few people around here today who, once they saw us, correctly presumed why we were here. As it appears, more have become aware of the bear. The bear is seen dutifully walking along the sidewalk on Marilla Street during the wee hours of Thursday morning, when it was captured on security cameras in front of the home of Jessica McCalzak. The direction it was heading means it also passed in front of Jim Herrick's house next door, who didn't see it, but told us a funny story about how he became aware of the bear.
I was sent a text message by my nephew, who lives in Hamburg, and at first, because it wasn't a very good video, I asked him if it was a bear in his yard. And he said, no, it's a bear in your neighborhood on Marilla Street. And then I went back in and to the other page, the South Buffalo page, and that's when I saw Jessica's post. I was like shocked, told my wife, hey, this is in front of our house.
It may not be entirely surprising that a bear could be in this part of the city, as portions of Marilla Street are also surrounded by wide open green spaces, wooded areas, and it's just a few blocks from South Park. Wildlife experts might remind, though, that bears, while interesting and even intriguing, certainly should not be considered approachable. On your side in South Buffalo, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
It is being called an incredible, historic moment here for the Buffalo and Erie County Botanical Gardens as this $31 million expansion and renovation project officially begins. It's a plan that's been in the works for more than a decade.
It's a long time coming. So for 11 years, we've been talking about this, and this, as the county executive said, it's had a lot of fits and stops. COVID, it was in the middle of all of this, so we did have to pause for a while and readjust for budget reasons. But we're here today. We have a beautiful design, and we're really excited to move it forward.
The design includes a new welcome center and cafe, learning lab, expanded gardens, and an event space that can fit more than 300 people.
We're really happy to be able to bring new accessible spaces that makes this 125-year-old facility up to modern standards.
The state pitched in $15 million, and Governor Kathy Hochul says the groundbreaking felt more like a homecoming to her.
I was born at Our Lady of Victory Hospital, and this neighborhood is just part of my story. And as a little girl, I would take my naps when I was about 3 or 4 years old in my parents' bed, and on their dresser was a picture of their wedding right in front of this building. So to me, this is always a magical place where Mom and Dad had their wedding pictures.
Now, generations of families to come will be able to experience a little bit more of that Botanical Gardens magic.
Anyone can support this project just by visiting, becoming a member, sharing things on social. Do your part. No dollar amount is too small to support this project.
Work begins Monday morning here at the Gardens. They will stay open throughout the length of the project, and a grand opening celebration is tentatively planned for December 2026. On your side, Lauren Hall, Channel 2 News.